Hey, this is Warren from Taming Sorry, and you're listening to On the Fly with Stevie and Jason.
You are listening to On the Fly.
What's up, guys? On the Fly, back again. And look, continuing our 80s theme. We did not our best, like what was it, Warden? Top 5 movies, songs,
Albums of
albums,
1980.
1980 last week. And now this week, continuing that 80s theme. This is one, and guys, this is one of the big stars for me from the 80s. This guy was in so many great movies from the 80s. A lot of you guys remember from Ambitious and Babysitting. Don't tell mom the babysitter's dead. The dishes are done, dude. I mean, everybody remembers
Classic line, man. Classic.
There's so many. Look, like I told him before we went on air, that's not even my 2 favorite movies that he was in back then. There's a lot more back then, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But with us tonight is great actor, Mr. Keith Coogan. What's up, Keith? How you doing, buddy?
Great to be here, guys. Thank you, Stevie and Worden. I just feel so serious. Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on. I love talking about movies, my own, other movies. I played a lot of versions of either myself or other narcissistic actors, and it's just so easy to skewer actors. I just genuinely love the movies.
Yeah, definitely. Talk a little bit. You grew up in California, of course, and your grandfather. I know Warden wants to talk about this a little bit. We'll just start off with that. Your grandfather was somebody, and I didn't really realize who your grandfather was till we started doing research of this. But go ahead, Warden. You want to ask him about that? I know you do.
Okay, I grew up in the 80s, back when we didn't have cable, so we had this little thing called PBS, and they used to run a lot of Charlie Chaplin movies. And I remember the movie The Kid, and I watched it, and it, typical Charlie Chaplin, great actor, just, keeps you mesmerized. Lo and behold, a few years later, you see him on The Addams Family. I knew this, I've known this for a while, but do you ever surprise people knowing that your grandfather was not only Uncle Fester, but also in The Kid with Charlie Chaplin?
There are many people that see that kind of straddle of his career, and some, are more familiar with Addams Family probably than only The Kid and no Addams Family.
Yeah.
And the Coogan Act. They'll tell me, "Oh, did you know that he had a law?" I'm very familiar with the law. Yes, thank you very much. And that he that. We watched Addams Family at home. We'd watch it, and no one was, there's actors that are like, I don't watch my work or I don't watch daily. So I'm like, screw that. I'll watch anything, anytime. A new streaming service fires. I'm like, they have my Love Boat episode. Let's watch that. And so, when I was growing up, my grandfather had told what I thought were tall tales. I was the biggest movie star in the world, and top box office star in 1923. I'm like, sure, Grandpa, go to bed. He was kind of a wrastly old, a typical, like, imagine like a retired veteran in his chair with a never-ending supply of iced tea and opinions on what's on the television. That's typical Grandpa, right? And then every once in a while, his own shows on TV, right? All of it, in all of his other work, he was like the most hated man in America on the Brady Bunch. When they're backing out of the parking lot and they hit the guy and they go to court and they're gonna ask Cindy to lie, and he's the guy with the neck brace, and then Mike Brady throws the briefcase and he turns around and the judge knows he's full of it.
I did not realize that was him.
He did tons of the Lucy Show, Perry Mason, 5 Perry Masons, at least Wild Wild West. Pretty regular on that. Was in Shakiest Gun in the West, not Don Knotts. Yep.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I think he was in brownface in that as an Indian. Anyway, yeah, we catch him on weird things, and now we set the TiVo to record 3 names: Keith Mitchell, Keith Coogan, and Jackie Coogan, and it'll catch my childhood work, my teen
Right.
and up work,
Yeah.
and then anything he did, and we get to see the wildest things come up that it'll record. It's great.
I
Yeah,
saw an
so-
interview with it was you and your mom, and it was on YouTube, and it showed you and your grandfather walking along the beach, and it's like that was really cool because I mean I have memories of my grandfather too, but man, it sounds like you guys are really close. I mean that was really cool to see that because it wasn't a movie, it was just an interview with you and your mom that just was for real. That's what it looked like to me. It was just
Yeah, but
real.
we're all a bunch of old Hollywood whores that had this. It might have been shot either for 2020. It wound up in Hollywood's Children documentary on child actors. There's some great interviews with my grandfather in that. And so we knew they're coming to the house. So when your mom cleans up extra for certain company.
Yeah.
Imagine that with a lot of yelling and screaming and keys being thrown. And I love it when I see crowds, audiences loading in for a show in LA, and you can just see they dressed up for it. They're going to be on camera in the audience, a second or two,
Yeah.
and when they shoot the audience during game shows or reality shows. But I know that whole day, that woman or guy was like, I had the show tonight. Don't know. And I'm like, you're just gonna. So there's actors just have no perspective. It's very funny. Anyway, so I'm sure there's a question in there. I have so much ADHD. There's extra letters. There's A, D, C, B, L. That's a cat. Squirrel.
All right. No, I just
So-
thought it was very cool. It was just a very cool.
yeah.
It took a lot of work. It sounds like, but hey, look like it was worth it.
So you started out at what, 2 years old? You were on TV as early as 2, and then
Yes.
but looking at the shows you were on, I mean,
It's so weird. Coincidentally, my grandfather did a movie called Skinner's Baby at about 1.5 years, which is about how old I was there, maybe 2. And then the kid came out of 5, and I joined the union at 6. I'd done a few extra stand-in. Didn't get paid for standing in a McDonald's commercial. That's when we got the agent and went union and all that stuff. My mom's like, how do we get paid? And they're like, was it a union job? They're like, no. Oh, that's how you get paid. Oh, cool. So go on. Yes, I
Yeah,
just
but I
wanted,
mean,
there was a weird
just
similarity
looking-
for him and I.
looking at, I mean, Little House on the Prairie,
Yes.
the Waltons, the Love Boat, like you mentioned earlier, Fantasy Island, Laverne and Shirley, Mork and Mindy, 8 is Enough, Knight Rider, Growing Pains, Silver Spoons, Fame, and Chips. I mean, that's like my whole childhood right there that I watched there. I mean, really. But I have to ask you, and I don't know, was it one episode of Mork and Mindy you were on?
The last episode.
How was it working with Robin Williams though?
Interesting. You could work with him. Jonathan Winters just ignored me entirely, and
Oh yeah,
that was disappointing. He was doing Jonathan Winters backstage was doing little bits, and my mom kind of pushed me. She's like, go play with him, go play. And I'm like, she always wanted me to do improv. I'm like, I want a script. I don't want to come up with a story. I'm not a story writer. I'm an actor. And so I hated improv exercises and stuff, but she was forcing me to, during a blocking rehearsal, she made me jump in and start improvising with Robin Williams. And he kind of looked at me. I said something off script. He looked at me and he's like, oh, really? He's like, and he ate me alive. He ate me 6 ways.
I can't
And
imagine
Jonathan
trying to
Winters
improv
would
with
not
him.
include me in his bit. And that it hurt my feelings as a kid, but I also went, I know he's a crazy old man. That's fine. Everybody says he's crazy. I thought I could learn something from him.
Yeah, I mean, and any of them other ones you want to ask him about, Ward?
I have a connection to you, kind of with this one. I was telling Stevie about it earlier. Laura Ingalls Wilder. I lived in a small town called Mansfield, Missouri, where she lived her last few years and wrote the books. So I actually went to Laura Ingalls Wilder Elementary. Yes, there is such a thing.
Oh,
So,
I'm sure there is. Yes.
and I was always curious. I've heard good about him and bad about him. How was Michael Landon? One
Oh,
of
great.
course, one of our childhood. Everybody
the
wanted him
gl-
to be your dad.
The glowing golden lamp. Did you ever see the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or those? You know the lion
Yeah.
one there.
Yeah.
That's him on a set, glowing, righteous, not a bad instinct, a smart producer, a smart director. Um, you know that Highway to Heaven had
Yeah.
a heart, and it wasn't in your face with the what was the other one at the time with the wings and the angels and the wings, or I don't know.
Oh, Touched by an
But
Angel or whatever.
that's it. I was
Yeah.
touched
Touched by an
by an
angel.
angel. You've been touched by an angel, son. Yeah, that was it was weird. I didn't get to work with much of the regular cast, only Kenny Lester, Moses Gunn, and it was at the blind school. And that
Yeah.
I
Okay. Yeah. So
Kenny
they
Lester
didn't
is
have, what
still
was her name? Melissa Sue Anderson? Was she?
yes, I'm
Yeah.
sure
Mary.
she
Yeah, Mary.
bridged and handed the episode off so audiences didn't freak the hell out that it's gonna all be B story, really? All week? Just this week is just the blind kid? All right, fine.
Where did they film that at? Was it California?
So it was a backlot. So Lorimar and Viacom and TV, they would shift lots. They said they shot on one lot. I remember at MGM. In different Western towns, you might need one particular sheriff's station, one particular train station, one particular saloon, or so every lot had a different kind of a looking backlot, but all had the same kind of elements, just in different styles. So I remember it was MGM. I want to say it was MGM, because that's the lot that had the church. That was the blind school at the end of a street, and then it kind of went to bushes and weeds off to the right. And it was MGM.
Cool, very cool.
So then you kind of
think.
move into the.
I don't remember. I was like, but I do remember it was I started shooting that episode the day after they shot John Lennon
Oh wow!
because I was filming Laverne and Shirley the night before. And
You were
wrapped
all over
around
the place.
11 or 12 o'clock on, because we shot in front of an audience and it goes late. And the Coogan Act, my grandfather's own labor law says I need 12 hours between wrap and call time. But 8 o'clock call time for Little House the next day. And we all looked at each other and the set teacher, and there's like certain set teachers do like all the shows. And we looked at each other and we all went, it's a different production. It resets the clock. So I went right to work as the blind guy. I never played blind before either.
And how hard was that to do, though, to play?
Melissa Sue Anderson, she said, you do your regular, look at the person. Great. Now kind of just look off to the side and fuzz your eyes out a little bit. Literally. Just put them out of focus. And then really listen to people. And I went, okay, that's going to be the blind kid. And there were other kids that were the blind kids, and they were regular blind kid extras. They'd done it before, so I picked up quick from them.
So you mentioned you had teachers on there. How I guess you had that on a lot of your sets. How was that? How hard was that to? I can only imagine being away from school and having to play catch up. Like you're not part of the school, so I guess you have a teacher on demand, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah, it's more like the teacher has the production on demand because the teacher can say,
oh wow,
yeah, stipulate certain things like a rest hour in a 12-hour day. And the younger you go, the less hours you have.
Right.
Infant has an hour on set. And then if you're say 15, you might have 10 hours on set. If you're 16 or 17, you might have 12 hours on set. However, that's 3 hours of school, 1 hour of recreation, 1 hour of lunch. So it really leaves 4 good hours, or whatever the math works out. It leaves little time, and that means less close-ups or less rehearsals or less being involved with the adults, and so I think it wasn't until Macaulay Culkin that kids started getting the billing and the money that was on parity with adults. Before that, yes, there were kids getting Oscars, but they weren't getting the billing or the money. And Macaulay really, it showed you he was a superstar kid.
Yeah, definitely.
So I took the California High School Proficiency Examination at 16, which let me work as an adult in SAG under screen. I didn't need a teacher, no parent on set. But that didn't, and that only let me compete against New York kids who somehow weren't covered under the Coogan law.
Oh, wow.
New York has a slightly different labor law for kids. There's one, but it's different. It's like the Coogan Act. And they're hungry. They're like, we do theater. We'll work anytime, anywhere. And they would come out, and you'd see Network fly out a New York kid to audition for a show, and you'd be like, damn, putting them up for in a hotel and a car and flights. They've already sunk money into this kid. They're just going to hire him.
So I guess with that less screen time, I guess that kind of explains why they have sometimes twins
Yeah,
play
Absolutely.
roles. I never thought of it that way. Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's
Nathan Fiedler's the rehearsal has a great bit where they're pretending to have a kid, but they're aging up 3 years every 6 hours in the fake house they're having. And when they're an infant, they have to swap the kid out from the crib. And they have a clock running on the set
wow.
that shows the time out, and brilliant show. And then at one point she puts the kid down in a supermarket parking lot to put the groceries in, and a PA sneaks up and swaps the whole car seat out for the fresh kid. Genius show, but also true. That happens on a
Yeah.
set. And also one kid
Wow.
might be really passive, and
Yeah.
you could yell and scream and set off effects around him, and the kid's just like and smiles. The other kid might cry at the drop of a hat, and you might need a kid who cries, or need a kid who doesn't cry. And so the twins gives you which one's sleepy, which one's wide awake and ready to cause trouble, and you can kind of catch, twins also cycle together. So maybe that doesn't
Yeah.
work.
Interesting.
So you move into, I guess, after the TV stuff, you move into the movies. You do the voice of young Todd on the Fox and the Hound. I remember this was like the big thing. We go to the theater. I was like, 8 years old then. So go to the theater, and the Fox and the Hound, one of the saddest movies ever. But you did young Todd. What was it like working? Was that like your first voiceover, or had you done some of those voiceovers before?
It was my only voiceover.
Wow.
And I've auditioned for hundreds after that. Maybe that doesn't bode well on my audition technique, but including Hamlet, The Lion King, and Hunchback of Notre Dame. Tom Hulse got that, so he's Broadway star. That forgive me. And nobody called me for Fox and the Hound 2. Well, I was much too
never
old,
saw
so they
it
went
for
with
Fox
like
Hound
Jonathan
2.
Taylor Thomas or some new child actor. You get discarded so quickly.
Yep.
So Fox and the Hound was, I asked my mom. She said it was an audition just like anything else. And it came up. They ran us in front of the animators. We saw the character drawings and stuff. We started recording. And I say we because I did see Corey Feldman. Because of the Coogan Act and the schooling, you can bank hours. So 3 hours of school a day, but you can do up to 5, banking 2. And the minimum you can do a day is 1. So you could do 5 days of a bunch of banks and then do 5 days of only 1 hour of school a day. If I did my math right, I think that works out. Yeah. So, for instance, on Walton's, I banked so much time. We wound up selling it to another production. Like, he's got 20 hours banked. What are you going to do? And I got a World Book and like they said, if we turn it into school supplies and not money, it's legal. So I got a bunch of cool school supplies, microscopes, and whatever you wanted at the little board thing where you can electrocute yourself building a radio. I got all that shit. Oh, and the chemical ones. There was chemistry sets. We had that straight up had poison in it.
Well, look,
what were they thinking in the 70s?
No,
They weren't.
God.
The worst thing ever. The worst toy they ever invented. Lawn darts. What the heck?
Oh, we had them. We used
We
them.
had them too.
We
but
dodged
God,
them. It's your responsibility. I mean, that lawn dart goes up.
But we also used to have dirt clog fights. I mean, you get
Oh, yeah.
outside the hill
Oh,
with
yeah.
dirt
Oh,
clogs.
loved them.
Yeah.
Gotta find that good one. It's gonna break
good
apart when
solid
it
one.
hits,
You gotta
but
have a good solid one.
no
Especially when you get one
rocks.
with a rock in it. That's real fun, you know. You get
No,
hit by
no
it.
rocks allowed. That's
It
fat
was,
party
it, was,
foul.
it was
Rocks.
definitely an accident. I promise.
Sure, you were probably loading them, but anyway, yeah, Fox and the Hound was a big success back then. But then you go on to a TV movie, $1 Million Infield, and this is a Rob Reiner movie, which Rob Reiner goes on to be a huge success.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but $1 Million Infield, what was it like working on that movie? Because that had you had Bonnie Bedelia, you had
Bruno Kirby.
Bruno Kirby.
Second time I'd worked with Bonnie Bedelia. I think she was in the pilot of Norma Ray that we did. We did a pilot for Norma Ray, the television series.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding you at all. Ned Beatty was in it.
Oh wow.
What else? I did some a couple of pilots, never went anywhere, and a great series called Mackenzie's Paradise Cove with Clu Gulager and Sean Marshall from Pete's Dragon. 5 kids whose parents die in a boating accident, and they pretend their neighbor is their Uncle Kuda, so they have a guardian, and he's just drunk. And Clu Gulager was a method actor, so that
didn't take off?
At 6, and we shot entirely on location in Hawaii. An hour pilot, and then like 6 half-hour episodes, and every episode started with me and Clu, and ended. The tag was me and Clu Gulager walking on the beach or talking about the theme of the week, like a almost grandfather son thingy, but father son thing. Very cute. But
Wow.
to carry that 2 pages of the cold open and 2 pages of the stinger, what I had already, we had done a movie of the week called Question of Love, where Clu Gulager is suing my mom's, because he's my dad, but Jenna Rollins and Jane Alexander were lesbians. This is in the 70s. Same producers that hired me back for these other things. And it was groundbreaking. It was on ABC TV, Sunday movie, whatever. And I started early working with method actors.
Right.
And also doing TV commercials on the side. Well, that was the foundation, and then guest spots, but early on, I did a couple of after school specials.
Yeah.
A couple of movies of the week. The Kid with the Broken Halo.
I remember it. Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
Right? You really rang a bell with the $1 Million Infield. I had a couple of days of work on that. Part of one of the families or something. So a couple kitchen scenes and a ballpark scene.
Let me ask you this: you were a well-known actor in the 80s. Was there ever a show? Were you ever approached about like a show, kind of like a Silver Spoons for Rick Schroeder? Were you ever approached with a show for yourself? Like
I went up for Growing Pains. I was up for the Kirk Cameron role.
Really?
Absolutely. I was up for a billion of the sitcoms. One of them was Into the Night or Heat of the Night, and it was cop detective at night, and he took care of Christina Applegate and Jonathan Ward during the day. Jonathan Ward obviously got that.
Yeah.
The number of movies really are the ones I remember.
Right.
TV kind of comes and go. Your goal is to use commercials to learn about a set. TV to kind of learn how to really be on the spot, because a lot of the sitcoms, it's a live audience. They're going to film it once or twice, and that's it. And then to get to movies, film. And someone said, if you want to be rich, do television. If you want to be good, do theater.
Right.
And so I've done theater my whole life too. And the theater enriched the film. And then hopefully the TV, when, I did a Rookie in December, or came out Christmas, and stuck to my guns. Did the same thing I do in movie or on stage. And that's nice. It's nice to not have to be asked to do something you're not comfortable with.
Right. So then you're big. Go ahead, Lord.
You ever hate that question about, did you ever turn anything down that you regret?
Oh no.
I would think that That would
I
be
don't think
a
the only
question.
thing turned down, and it was a trick. My mom always, insisted that I did this because I wanted to. I'm not pushed into it.
Yeah.
And so if a part or a movie came up that she didn't like, it would suddenly be a really great day at the beach. You could go up for this thing. It's in a hotel. It's really scary. I don't know. I don't know, the part's okay. Or you go to the beach. It's really nice. It was The Shining, and she just didn't like the script. Also,
Wow.
Friday the 13th Part 4. I lost it out to Corey Feldman, but as I came close and was put on availability and knew it was down to me and probably Corey, my mom was like, "I don't want you to do this movie. I don't want you to do this movie." Went up for a couple horror movies, but the films I remember going up for and not getting that hurt the most were definitely E.T., Stand By Me,
Oh,
Goonies, Gremlins,
Goonies.
Christmas Story. Lucas. I went up for Lucas. So, and when you go, I'm not right for this. I went up for Lloyd Dobler in Say Anything. They go, "You're 17. I go, "I don't look like the 17 you're thinking in this thing. It's John Cusack's movie. Come on." I went up for The Geek in 16 Candles.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And some of these are studio nipple twists on the star they want to hire anyway to lower their price.
Right.
You won't take scale plus 10%. We'll
Wow.
hire Keith Coogan. That'll show you, because he'll do it for scale plus 10%.
So you went up for the Goonies. What part did you audition for?
So I'm up for it, and I'm around with 9 kids. We're in Amblin, and we're around a plexiglass that inside has One-Eyed Willie's pirate ship model that's about 2.5, 3 feet, abreast. And I'm there with everyone that was cast and like 3 or 4 others that weren't, and I'm up for Mouth. And I look over and Corey, what are you going for? And he's like, "I'm going up for Mouth."
And you're
Oh,
like,
fuck.
God.
Sorry about I don't know what your rating is, but I probably just blew it. I went,
That's all good here.
I would cast Corey as Mouth in a heartbeat. He does the impressions and the voices, and he's uniquely Mouth. You
Yeah.
know that. You know
He's
it.
got the
And so when
mouth
I
for
got
it.
Brad, I went, I really get this, and I think it's subtle, and he doesn't get the girl, and he's jealous. And how do you make this a likable character who's just green the whole movie? And so I loved the puppy dog that was Brad, and I really fought for it, and was afraid to get it. And then Chris Columbus really had a lot of faith that I was his Brad.
Right. So then, but you end up doing pretty good. 87 Adventures in Babysitting comes out. And one Miss Elizabeth Shue, who your character has the big time crush on. And who can blame you there?
We
She was
all
like,
did. We all did.
everybody had what I mean, going into that movie, and I remember I didn't go see it at theater. Yeah, luckily, movie rentals came around my
Curse
area.
you, damn you to hell. Curse
I'm
you.
sorry. I'm sorry.
No,
It's all on you,
luckily,
Stevie.
movie rentals came along, and it was
Movie
in
rentals came
Blockbuster.
along, and I was like, okay, Adventures in Babysitting. That's the girl from Karate Kid. We'll check. I'll check that out. And ends up being a great movie. What was it like? What was it like working? First of all, working with Elizabeth Shue.
Like working on a 12-hour surgery with one of the top surgeons in the world, and but you're having fun and playing some music, and it was a serious endeavor. Don't Tell
Right.
Mom, the babysitter did, was just really fun shooting, and everyone was really relaxed, and we weren't on trains and buildings and moving cars and expressways. Don't Tell Mom was in a house.
Yeah.
There's no stress there. And Adventure Babysitting was shot at night in a foreign country, in Canada, if you consider that a foreign country. Toronto, 2 months in Toronto. They spent about $4 million or so there.
Wow.
And then did 2 weeks in Chicago. Probably spent another $4 million there, and then a week in LA for Intravision effects, which are front projection used in The Fugitive, Stand By Me, Outland with Sean Connery, which is a great freaking film.
Yeah. Yeah. That, and you had a young Vincent I can't say his last name. I'm sorry. that played Dawson or Thor, whatever you want to call it. A lot of people don't realize because it took me a while. I don't know if you knew it, Warden, but that was the first Thor played in the movies. I don't know if you knew that or not. I can't say it. How you say his last name though? Vincent
D'Onofrio.
D'Onofrio. There you go. Law and Order guy. And
You say
Men in
the
Black.
first when you say the first Thor, what do you mean the first Thor?
So there was a television movie of the week that had the Avengers in it, made in the 70s.
Is that the one with the Hulk? Hulk was in it, right? Wasn't
Yeah.
he?
Yeah, everybody, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I
So
remember
everybody
that.
was in it.
Yeah.
this was the first silver screen on screen with a Marvel slug at the end
Gotcha.
during the credits. This is Thor, Mighty God of Thunder.
Okay,
Yep.
makes sense.
I argue he is Thor. He's under disguise.
Yep.
It's obvious he is.
You've seen it though, Warden, where his sister is obsessed with Thor. I mean, she's drawing Thor everywhere. She's got the hammer and all that, and then she sees this guy. She knows he's Thor, so it's pretty cool. But
It was He-Man in a draft, and Chris Columbus said, "I don't." He-Man, no.
yeah,
They approached Marvel. They said, "What do you got? Could we get Spider-Man? Captain America?" They said, "You can have Thor. No one's doing anything with Thor. He was the cheapest licensable character from the comic books that
right.
somebody might kind of get or recognize." And of course, they got to mention the other characters, so Marvel got a good buzz. So he is the official first on-screen Thor.
That's right. And this is Christopher Columbus's directorial debut, by the way. How was it working with him?
Well, he'd written Goonies and Gremlins and Young Sherlock Holmes. It was great. It was great to have. It was like a soft little welcome mat into the rough job of making feature films, which are, there's a good budget, a lot of people involved, a schedule, a deadline, a release date. In ours, we started shooting January. We shot through February and into March, and it came out July 4th weekend. That was a 3-month post.
Yeah.
Crazy. Probably only possible because of Intravision, which has no traveling mat. It is an in-camera. You see it in dailies how it's going to appear on screen. So there's no special effects. Everything was done practically with glass and mirrors and reflective screens and little set pieces built up. We never set foot in the Smurfit Stone Container Building, the Associates Center, I don't even know what it's called. I call it the Running Scared Building because in Running Scared with
Gregory
they
Hines.
rappel
Hines
down
and
it.
Billy
Yeah.
Crystal. Yeah.
So we never set foot there. B camera team shot plates for moving backdrops, and we built bits of the outside of the building on a soundstage off Poinsettia in LA. On the cusp of West Hollywood. It was where I shot a Kool-Aid commercial once. It was a little insert stage. Has 2
Oh
stages.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
But and another person you got to work with on that movie is everybody's favorite bad guy from the 80s in the movie. He was some people can play a great, just nice guy, and some people can play a great, just guy you want to just punch over and over again. And Bradley Whitford could play a guy that you just wanted to knock the crap out of all the time. But how was he on the set? Was he like that on the set? Was he totally different guy?
He's so great, and what's so great about when he plays douches is that he's so smart. He figures out a way to make him likable and charming, and to make him like him and thinks that the guy's smart and actually a good guy. So he plays a sociopath really well.
Yes, he does.
And he's just so great in that. He made, everybody, all of the bit players, not really bit players, all of those, it was such an ensemble piece. Let's put it that way. It was just such everybody from, he's got a gun, the guy with the gun, to get out of my house. Everybody in Adventures of Babysitting really brought it, and everybody continued working.
Yep, pretty much. And
it's funny, Stevie and I do a lot of music, and you said Bradley Whitford. I was thinking Aerosmith, but
no,
I know who you're talking about. I admit it's been a while, but he's a bad guy. He's a great bad guy.
Yeah, Billy Madison. Remember Billy Madison? Yes, dude, he was oh gosh, yes. I hated him, but that's what he got. What he was trying to get. So next up, we want to talk about one of the three movies that my three favorite movies that you were in, Hiding Out. And I just watched Hiding Out before we went on. I mean, a great story. You got to work with some, and I'm gonna tell you this, and I'm not afraid to say it. One of the most beautiful ladies that I've seen work, and I had a huge, huge crush on back in the day, Annabeth Gish. Man, there was something about it wasn't like she was just, oh gosh, everybody was like, she's so pretty. She had a natural beauty about her. But she is so pretty in this movie. You got to work with her. You got to work with John Cryer. What was it like working with those two? And what was it like working on Hiding Out?
That's where it felt, because John found the material, found the producers, found the money, basically made it. He doesn't have a producer credit, but he put what was originally called adult education together.
Oh, really?
So I saw the script on Anthony Rapp's coffee table in his hotel room while we were shooting Adventures of Babysitting. I said, "What's that?" He goes, "Oh, it's this movie, and the character's so much like Daryl. He's this fast talking, like sex fiend, and I don't want to do it." I go, "Can I call my agent and tell him about it?" He goes, "Sure, that's great. You're not going to be butthurt." "No, I'm fine." Cool. So I get it. I actually walked into the audition, read, and then later that afternoon came back for producers, and didn't know that one of the writers was a producer. So Marty, I love you, but as soon as we started the producer session, I sat in front of horseshoe of people that were like going to give me this job in New York, and I said, "Kids don't talk like this. I go, we'd have to work on the dialogue, like if I could." And Marty goes, I wrote it. And I go, "God, I'm so sorry. I thought for sure it was over." And they shot it against a photography backdrop, kind of like what I have now.
Right.
And so it was almost a screen test. We didn't have budget for a screen test. Adventures of Babysitting, Cheetah.
Yeah.
We did not have a screen test for not a screen test, so in movies you also do a camera test. That's what I'm talking about. We did a camera test for Cheetah. We did a camera test for a couple of movies, just to make sure everything's exposed right, and it like gives the producers a last minute chance to go, chemistry's not right. And it's just you literally standing there in costume for about a minute.
Wow.
And looking at each other and going, "Hey, what's up?" There's no dialogue. There's no thing. It's just a camera test. But that is one of and they tricked Brando into doing Godfather by his screen test for Paramount was, "We want to test the makeup. We're doing a camera effects test. Would you help us?" "Oh, yeah, that'd be great." So Hiding Out had the hair for John Cryer. Had to go
Oh
through
my
the
God.
beard
Brutal.
and the thing, and and then the dyed hair and a wig, and it was traumatic for him. But it was only a week of that other look in Boston.
Right.
We shot a week in Boston, and I went out there for costume fittings and other stuff. Then we wound up in Wilmington, North Carolina, to shoot the whole
wow.
base of the movie. Calling it Topsail High School, it wasn't. It was the same high school they shot Dream a Little Dream at, the same town that is Blue Velvet, that the same soundstage that Brandon Lee unfortunately died on
Yeah.
in The Crow.
Yeah.
It was a De Laurentiis production, so it was shot in Wilmingwood, or Thrillington, as I called it.
Yeah.
So fun.
Just
Wilmington-
curious. Just curious with Brandon Crowe dying there. Did they still use that, or is that just something they don't use anymore? Do you know that?
I think it was after us. They had a bit of warehouses that was in the flight pattern of the airport, and also had pigeons living in the rafters.
Oh wow!
So the pigeons would cause sound problems every once in a while. The planes would disperse them so that somewhere between the pigeons and the planes you could shoot dialogue scenes. And it's their their De Laurentiis stage, their warehouses. They weren't really soundproof stages. They're more like a loading dock. You might have something that fell off the truck, maybe.
I was just wondering, since there's a tragedy happened there, if they like Don't shoot
I don't
there.
know.
I was just
I
curious.
don't think I was there after. Been there since after that. But yeah, Blue Velvet to be rolling up in the same areas and
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be a good thing to look up and see if they didn't do anything there, Warden.
Yeah.
So next up, probably my second favorite movie you in, and that's Book of Love.
yeah.
You and Chris Young, just a great ensemble cast, and Danny Nucci, who ended up being on the Titanic. He's Spider, which it's just a great throwback to the 50s, and you get to see a lot of what teenagers did in the 50s. I guess some teenagers did, but also you worked with another great lady, Josie Bassett. But this didn't do. This has kind of got a cult following on VHS when VHS come out. Because I remember my brother, I'd never heard of it. My brother brings it home from the video store. He said, "What is that?" It's like Book of Love. And when I look up there, and no lie, you and Chris Young's face back in that day, you and Chris Young were like one of the most noticeable people out there. And I was like, well, it's got to be good if these two guys are in it. And it didn't let me down. I mean, so great, such a good comedy. But what was it like working on that movie, Book of Love?
You're working with a director, Bob Shea, who is the CEO and head of the company, New Line Pictures, but hires Rachel Talalay, who went on to direct Tank Girl and Freddy. Was it Final Nightmares? Freddy 6? What was the one with the Nintendo in the video game and he got eaten in the video game?
Right. I think that's the final one. I'm not much on.
Yeah.
I'm not up on my Freddy.
So it was tough for her because we'd go late and Bob would want to we'd call him Bob. He'd say, I want to get another crane shot or do this, and Rachel would go, no, we don't have the time. We gotta get it in the morning and get back. And he'd go, well, I override you. It's my company. And she goes, why'd you hire me? But despite that, we got period locations, Ray's Diner, tons of Pasadena, same area where Back to the Future was shot. Tons of downtown LA, Washington Heights, Lincoln Heights. The cars, the wardrobe, the girls' hair and makeup, the guys' hair. Oh my God, I had to get that duck's ass hairdo, and the glasses, the dance lessons. We took dance lessons just to do the little bit of dancing we do in the movie. And the limp, I had to affect a limp. I did play piano during Earth Angel. That is me playing. That is a live take. That's not a backing track. That's all of us singing right there.
Wow.
They're like, let's just record this. And John Cameron Mitchell, you failed to mention, is Floyd. Probably, I was on the set and we're working with John Cameron Mitchell, and I go, this guy is so sharp. He's so much is improv. Like, how about you, Mrs. Zimmerman? What are you doing tonight? That was improv. How genius is that line? Because they've gone through the whole book and gotten disease. He's like, what about you, Mrs. Zimmerman? So smart. You can't. It's hard to think that fast. And John Cameron later got Short Bus made through New Line. Anthony Rapp later got Rent made through with Chris Columbus. And I never took advantage of that. I'm kind of stupid, I guess.
But I think the
nooch. I never knew somebody who could bury himself in a part, ram his head through walls, wreck stuff, just generally be offensive, wiping boogers all over him. I mean, he's so sweet. You love Nooch.
You want to see my sister take a shower? You give me $2. You watch my sister take a shower. Yeah,
it's a flip book.
Flip book. The flip books. Yeah.
Oh my God, he jerks off in class to a reading of Moby Dick.
But yeah, one of the
salmon-like into the sea. Oh my God, such an offensive movie, and it was based on William Kotzwinkle's Jack in the Box because of Jack in the Kotex box trying to get home after he's been de-pantsed by the bullies. And they said, we can't use the title Jack in the Box, obviously. So they went through a series of titles and songs and stuff. At one point, because Dailies came back from Chris and Josie, and he comes over to her house to ask her out, and he leaves the grease stain like a hamburger was stuck to the wall. And literally, the script says, "Looks like a hamburger was thrown against the wall." And he nailed it. He nailed that scene.
He did.
And they went, "We need to call this movie The Great Pretender." And they were going to get the rights. And then they wound up with Bo Diddley and Book of Love. And they got Bo Diddley redo a new hip hop version of it.
Yeah.
So neat. And Michael McKean. And did you know that David Landers played Crutch in a cut scene?
No.
Filmed at the San Francisco bar in LA. Yes, there's a bar called San Francisco's. And it was Crutch and Twiller together talking about the voicemail message left by Gina.
Right.
Trisha Lee Fisher, who's fantastic in the film. And they cut the scene. Heartbreaking.
What, there's a lot. I interviewed a guy, this has been a while back, that played in the movie Hoosiers. And his character quits the basketball team in practice.
Yes.
But then you look like 2 games later, and without any explanation, he's in the starting lineup. He's on the court. And I asked him about that. I was like, what was the deal with that? Because he said, there was so much film, so much left on the cutting room floor and I was like, well, that's kind of an important part that they left out right there. He said, there's a part where I go and apologize to the coach and ask to come back on the team. And he says under these conditions, and they just cut it out. I was like, that's kind of important there because it didn't make much sense to see you back on the court again. But you got Worden.
What a Dennis Hopper smoker that was.
Oh my gosh, was he not Shooter?
And Gene Hackman. I mean, yeah, that was a great Barbara Hershey? Yep.
Barbara Hershey.
Directed by Taylor Hackford. Is that right? Am I getting that right?
Yep.
Okay.
You got it.
Yeah, Hoosiers. I think I saw in theaters twice. I had to go back and go, did I really just see this warm, rich movie about sports that I frankly was not a sports kid. I was a nerd.
Right.
The movies, video game, books, TV, sci-fi. So sports is formed, but Hoosiers made it relatable.
So you're a sci-fi Star Wars fan or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Star Wars, yeah.
Not to discount love. TOS.
Nothing to get Star Trek, but I like Star Trek. Star Wars better.
I like everything Star Wars. It's like even the worst. I like the prequels. I'm one of those.
Yeah, some of the prequel stuff though.
It's still Star Wars.
So I had saved my schedule. I had saved the last episode of Mandalorian. I heard the rumors of riding a Rancor beast. I see that in my mind. I'm going to save that park that in the back pocket and not watch that yet. Kenobi's released, and I watch all of Kenobi, and Kenobi ends, and I go, "Damn, that's a movie. That's a Star Wars movie right there."
Yeah.
And I go, "Why don't I watch that last episode of Mandalorian?" The Mandalorian looked like a cheap '70s, like the budget of V.
V. Oh my gosh, V, the final battle. Good Lord, I remember that was big when that came out.
Oh yeah,
when the lady ate the gerbils. I mean, oh my gosh, I was like.
Or the baby when that chick had the baby.
That baby, when that chick had the baby. Yeah, you're right.
They did a reboot of it.
We're not worried about the New World Order, fascist, completely authoritarian, sneaky coming in and will cure cancer and give you all the energy you need and clean all your water and air and everything, and then we'll eat you. That was an interesting time in the time of Reaganomics, definitely.
Yeah. So moving on, and this is my favorite movie you were in. And this was one that I didn't see at the theater either. I'm sorry. I lived a sheltered life, living in a small town where the nearest movie theater was like 30 miles away. And, anyway, luckily I worked at a movie. That was my dream job there. I worked at a movie rental store, and this movie shows up, and I'm like looking at the cover of it. I was like, so there's Mikey from the Goonies. There's the guy from Stand By Me, the guy from and then the guy from Adventures in Babysitting. And I didn't, the other two were kind of unknowns, I guess. But I was like, this has got to be a good movie. Louis Gossett's in it. It's got to be a good movie. Toy Soldiers. Man, what a freaking awesome movie. I mean, it's got a great story to it. Warden, have you ever seen Toy Soldiers? I'm putting you on the spot. No,
Yeah,
you
you
haven't. I
are.
can tell. Look, let me go.
If I saw it, it was years ago. My bad. I'm sorry.
If you get a chance to watch it, dude, it is. I'm telling
I
you,
probably have, but I'm old now and I don't remember stuff. So
great story of terrorists coming into uh, I guess what you call a boarding school, and looking for a judge's son, and the judge's son's already left, so they end up taking all these kids hostage. But these kids like Sean Astin, Will Wheaton, Keith Coogan, and the other two, I can't ever remember the other two guys. I'm sorry.
George Perez, T.E. Russell.
There you go.
It also
there
had
you go.
Denham Elliott.
Then the two little guys that you guys kind of
Yeah,
took in.
yeah.
The
Yogurt.
guy, yeah, but I mean, I'm not
A
going to give
boys'
it
prep
away.
school gets taken over by terrorists. I call
Exactly.
it Dead Poet Society meets Die Hard.
Yep. And
a little red Dawnish, huh?
yeah, pretty
Yes,
much.
we watched Red Dawn and Taps on repeat.
Yeah,
We
I can
knew
see
the
the tap.
influences. This is a B movie, popcorn. We know what it is. There's a great line Lou Gossett is talking to who plays Louis Cali. Oh my God, I'm blanking on his name, and I love him. I call him a nickname. He's a Wishmaster. He's the genie.
Jeez, what's his? Hold on, I'm looking right now
Oh
for
my
you.
God.
Was he the heavy Denham Elliott? Yeah.
No, the heavy. He goes, you American. He goes, we will find you. We will hunt you down. We will kill you.
Oh.
And
God, what's his name?
he goes, you Americans always say that. You never actually do it. He's got such balls. It was based on what William Kennedy's book of the same name, which had a female teacher and a love affair, and that was all cut out.
Yeah, I'm looking right now to see what this guy's name was. What was his character's name again?
Louis Cali.
Andrew Divoff.
Andy. I always call him Andy. That's why I couldn't remember Andrew.
Yeah.
Andy speaks 9 languages and is a method actor and just terrifying on a set. You never know what he's going to do.
There's one scene I got to ask you about it. I don't know if it was planned or not, because judging from some of the other kids in there's reaction,
it will explode.
Yes.
Okay. So we did that a couple times, and I think that was the third take. So we're acting like we're scared. Now he went to different levels each take, but he went big the first take, and so we knew that he was going to be calm. Yeah. Don't touch the wires. Don't touch the explosives. Don't touch the thing. Don't do that, or they will explode. We kind of knew that was coming. Very fun. He was a live wire, but so within the guardrails of the script and the scene in the moment, because those kinds of movies are really built on really quick flashes and imagery and understanding of the audience. Right. Where's the gizmo? Where's the gadget? What's the what the MacGuffin? How are we moving along? And if there's no time to think. And by the last 15 minutes of Toy Soldiers, with the military score recorded by the Irish Philharmonic Orchestra, they work cheap. What are you going to say? They were great. Great score. And by the end, it is breathless. It just builds and builds, and the action keeps going and going, and you finally get that. And it's hard R. I consider it the last of the hard R movies without a tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
Because you had True Lies came out in 94, and this was 91. And I really feel like, when was Red Heat? About 89, 90?
Yeah, Red Heat was before this. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
You had Daniel Petrie Jr., who had written The Big Chill, Beverly Hills Cop. Very capable filmmaker. You had Toy Soldiers was written by David Koepp, who'd written Jurassic Park, and so it was a little. It was such a, what do you call it, rolling thunder. And since we had grenades and machine guns and RPGs and Blackhawks and Apaches and Bell for camera, a camera was in like a Bell helicopter. Dude, I walked out of my trailer one day, machine guns going off, tower blowing up with naphthalene, 3 helicopters in the air, and I went, I'll never be on an action movie like this again. And Mickey Moore, who was second unit director, he directed the truck chase sequence in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, wow.
And he directed a scene. Daniel Petrie was running back between A and B set with so much to shoot that me lighting the cigarette and distracting the smoke alarm and distracting the terrorists on my part of the roof with the coffee and all that stuff, that was directed by Mickey Moore. And while we're shooting that, he's telling stories of John Wayne and Katharine Hepburn.
Wow.
And so really cool because you had, there were some old school people on that. And Tom Burston, who was the director of photography, coincidentally also worked on the Cheetah. So I get on the set. I go, hey, Tom, how you doing? And then like years later, mid-90s, I run into him in DMV. Hey, Tom, what's happening? Hey, Keith, how you doing? LA's like that. It's very weird.
I think, though, and correct me if I'm wrong, the chemistry with you five, though, was so, I mean, you guys look like
A week of rehearsal was key. Me and Sean and Will, we'd known each other. We'd auditioned against each other. I'd been directed by Sean's dad. Sean's dad and my grandfather had done the Addams Family together.
Yeah.
Me and Will, and we'd already done like celebrity events together and stuff. And I love him. Me and Will got along really well. We're driving in the desert. That's Palm Springs, and look at it, it's just sand. And Will Wheaton goes, man, imagine if all of that sand, every grain was diamonds. It's a diamond. He goes, what would it be called? And I went, sand. I think we went to an opening of Oasis Water Park. Yeah, it was a celebrity thing. So there was a little, kids have their own social group with a kid award show that's like the Oscars, and kid events and celebrity charity softball games and fundraisers. And what is it? Alice Ingram says, you got to hang your ass out there. So you just go to every single thing with a red carpet and a camera and a chance to get your name in the paper.
Yeah, but
it's terrible, but it's true.
Never would have thought that you could disguise alcohol as mouthwash like you guys did in that movie. That was
right. And you can, of course, drink alcohol that has mouthwash that has alcohol and get kind of loaded, but you'll get sick. So yeah, to do creme de menthe and vodka and all that stuff. That unfortunately, that we hadn't gotten to Friday Night Lights area with laying in the middle of the road and getting run over by cars as a hazing stunt. So, dialing the sex line. By the way,
the sex line,
the voice of Jennifer. Interesting bit of trivia.
I love hearing this stuff now.
She's married to John Avildsen, who directed Rocky, Karate Kid.
Wow.
And she sat in a van outside the set and communicated through us like live, so we could, mess around. And that, by the way, after a week in San Antonio, where they shot all of the courthouse sequence, the opening sequence, all of the border patrol stuff, then they came to Charlottesville and shot mostly at the Miller Academy for boys. It's now co-ed. It was a preparatory for Air Force kids. We did a 1 week of rehearsal. And so I think, back to you talking about the camaraderie.
Yeah.
We were all pretty confident. By the way, there was a gauntlet. Everyone in town wanted to be in Toy Soldiers. Everybody went up for it. I remember going to the Copper Penny, which is by Warner Brothers Studios, and the auditions were near there. And everyone wound up at the Copper Penny. It's kind of like a Denny's, and out in the patio area, and 8 of us all and I remember maybe 2 of us got in it. It was like, oh, it's cool. The guns, the helicopters, the thing, because it is our chance to do a TAPS or a Red Dawn. Red Dawn was like what, 84?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was 14 when that came out. How impressionable am I? Milius is genius. Anyway, back to Toy Soldiers. So we knew it was derivative. We knew it was Die Hard. We knew it was TAPS. We knew it was all that stuff. And Sean Astin, naked butt. We have a hit, modest, 20 million, 21 million. I don't know what it made. Cost maybe 12.
Right.
on the same budget as Adventures of Babysitting or Don't Tell Mom. A little shy of their box office. I think they're in the like 30 million to maybe 25 million, and then Toy Soldiers, and then Fox and the Hound actually is my highest grossing film with like 46 million. But Toy Soldiers was produced by Mark Berg, who it was went on to run Island Records, Island Pictures. He shaved his hair into a high and tight, took the script to the Pentagon and asked for Humvees, Blackhawks, Apaches, pilots, troops. And they said, okay, we have notes on the script. He goes, yep, absolutely. Because look, it's a big deal. It's a lot of money. To have to go buy that, like Hurt Locker, she did not get approval. So Catherine Bigelow had to go figure out how to get a couple of Humvees and this and that and kind of make it look like a war. It's really helpful when you have the Pentagon on your side. So Mark Berg shaved his hair into high and tight, went there, and they said, we want to change the ending. And Mark Berg said, oh, you want to change how you'd really invade a school and rescue the prisoners? And he goes, no, hostages. He goes, no, we want to change it how we want people to think we'd invade a school and take over the terrorists and rescue the hostages. So that is, CIA and Sun Tzu, The Art of War, says, through deceit, thou shalt do war. So you're never truthful. You know that CNN during Gulf War asked reporters to stand in front of the Kennedy in right now the feed get cut, right? Pearl Harbor, the Kennedy was there in port getting fixed, and they said bring 2 weeks worth of clothes, and they shot a bunch of with in behind them the John F. Kennedy aircraft carrier. They said, yep, still in dock, it's got a screw getting repaired, they're resupplying, troops are having fun, in the town. And they aired 2 weeks of those reports. By that time, it was halfway up the Suez Canal. So the CIA, the news media, and Hollywood, the Hollywood military-industrial complex, they're up your butt. It's without remorse, and read without remorse. There are Marines, there are Navy SEALs that will crawl up a creek, go up the sewage, and put a grenade up the guy's butt to kill him. Yeah. And never be seen, never be found, never be smelled. And there's guys that are proud of that. I love the Michael B. Jordan Without Remorse. Absolutely nothing to do with the book, but good. He should actually do the book. I think Michael B. Jordan would be fantastic in the actual Tom Clancy book, Without Remorse.
Yeah, this, I've watched it, and actually, when I got in contact with you, it's been a few months back, and you agreed to do this. I was like, I got in there with my daughter. My daughter's 18, but she is like retro, and we sat down and watched Toy Soldiers, and she was like, when my wife got home and I was telling her, I said, look, you remember this guy? And I was telling her, she's like, oh yeah, I definitely remember him. And Mallory was like, my daughter was like, that freaking movie was good. That's a really good movie. So she's getting there. But
it takes itself seriously, knowing what it is. So there's no need for a tongue in cheek. This is just a badass. It's got Arlie Erming, Mason Adams, Denham Elliott,
the guy
who played Jack, the second terrorist with the little glasses and the gray jacket. Michael Champion. We had the same agent, Harry Gold, at the time.
Yeah, that guy was.
He was the original Kevin from Sin City.
Yeah,
I actually think that Sin City, that the artist was influenced by Michael Champion's part in Toy Soldiers. Those round glasses, the cold, just absolutely. He's like, I'm here for hire. I don't give a hell what you feel or think. I'm here to deliver orders, make it happen. And the little side bets. And that's all created by Michael and Andy Divoff. They go, what if we had a bet on how many kids? And then you pay up. And or it's a cigar or it's a thing. And did you know that they went into town as terrorists? And this is a mix of skaters, stuntmen, actors. Remember, all the bad guys in movies were theater majors. So they went into town and they got into a fight in a college town. and with this big guy, Haas, basically Haas from
Gunsmoke.
yes, thank you. And just they arguing, pushing, and their leather jackets and their beards, and they look like terrorists, and they're like, they're trying to be method. I'll tell you another story about being in method too. And sheriff pulls around, little scuffle in front, pulls up, and he walks up, and he find out the sheriff is the brother of Haas.
Uh-oh.
Oh, wow.
So the sheriff goes, hold on, I got to make a call real quick, and turns and walks 20 feet up the street, and Haas turns around and decks Michael Champion right in the nose. Bam! Breaks his nose. We're shooting the next day. As a matter of fact, it's a scene where he goes, shut it down now. And it's to the remote control plane in the quad.
Yeah.
So that is the day after he had his nose broke. So makeup covered it.
I'll have to go back.
Producers were pissed. They're like, what are you fucking doing? Getting into fights in town, trying to be bad guys and stuff like that. And so when he gets killed by I think he gets shot by an Apache. I'm not sure.
On the roof.
With an M50 on the front of the Apache. They put extra squibs and double loads. And when they shoot it, they overcrank, so it was a little slow-mo. It hurt. And you see him go, ow, 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 ow. You see Michael Champion's eyes go, oh, shit. And by the way, we shot in continuity. We kind of shot in order of the script. So when you died in Toy Soldiers, whether you're Will Wheaton or Michael Champion, you were on a plane and you were home. So as soon as they killed him with extra squibs and a little extra pain, a little bruising there, it was safe. It ain't going to hurt him. Then he was sent home. But I love Michael. He's passed now. But he was a great bad guy. Sweet, warm. And by the way, in town, there was a bar. And I go down and Michael goes, I'm going to join in on a song. And what? He goes, I made friends with the musicians that were playing the pub. We go down and he plays Honky Tonk Woman. He plays bongos. He just plays 2 bongos. And he shreds it. Brings the house down. I absolutely died. And I went back another night and he tried to repeat it. The illusion of the first time wasn't there. And it was good. It's great. But it was also there. Every night is different. Every audience is different. The tuning of the drums can be different because it's hotter or colder and all of that. So Toy Soldiers is a perfect example of men making a man's movie for men and boys. There are no female characters except for news reporters and a few moms that literally have 90 seconds of screen time.
And Jennifer.
Oh, and it's just her voice. She is a blonde Asian lady with dark skin. And you take that, but I love Snuffy. He's like, take it off now, take it off.
Yes, take it off. But before we stop talking about that, I can't let you.
Not the other story
Lewis.
On.
Go ahead.
Wait, what was it on? The
Method.
Tough Guys. So the bad guys. The school was 40 minutes from the hotel. We stayed at a Days Inn across from a Kmart Kroger on the interstate. And just like accidents all day. And like we would get in trouble. And me and Will Wheaton like threw all the pool furniture in the pool. I got butthurt reading an interview about Sam by Me where he said they threw the pool furniture in the pool with River. And I go, you didn't tell me that when I threw the pool furniture in the pool with you. I feel betrayed. I really do. I thought that was our special thing. Not you and River too. God damn it. By the way, I love River. So the pranks were pulled. We ordered a trundle bed or a side rollout bed, and me and Will stuck it in the elevator and rolled it out. So when you open the elevator door in the Days Inn hotel, it was a bed. You couldn't walk in. You literally had to crawl onto the bed and hit the button and lay there. We were bad kids. But the bad guys would offer us a ride after work. He goes, hey, the production van, it takes like 40 minutes. Dude, we'll jam in our Mustang convertible. We got a whole car here. And we rented one in town. And we'll just take it home. Let's take it home. What do you say? And each of us, and I say like 6 or 7 because they included Sean Phelan, who played Yogurt. 6. So they didn't include the other kid, Jason. They said, hey, come with us. So the kids would go, sure. Hop in the car, and immediately they would drive behind the school, behind the headmaster's house. There was really like another house you never saw in the movie. By the way, that whole wall was fake. That whole quad is $1 million fiberglass and plywood wall. spray painted to look like brick. I meet guys
Wow.
that worked on that for 3 months. And they go, hey, I worked on Toy Soldiers. I'm like, oh, what'd you do? Sound? Did you work on camera? Did I, and he goes, nah, I built the wall. And they
Built the
spent
wall.
$1 million to build that wall. So anyway, the
Wow.
bad guy was taking us in the house. So one day they took me and they said, they took me and I go, well, we're not going to the hotel. Obviously, great. But they were a great guy, I could tell. I'm a good reader of people and I didn't feel unsafe at any time. And they pull around and it's dark, getting dark. And they say, get out of the car. Okay. And they go, get on your knees. And they start pulling out fake weapons and the whole, like, they start being badass. And I hit my knees and I start begging for my life, tears streaming from my head. Please go. I'm licking his shoe. God, don't kill me. Go, please. I just want to make this movie. I gotta go, please. And he goes, get up. He goes, every single other cast member said, stop fucking around. Every other cast member said, that's not funny. Stop fucking around. Come on, let's go home. You played ball. They go, we'll be watching you on the set. If we don't believe you, we will cut. We will say absolute bullshit. And so they had this menacing quality that they were in charge. If they were in the scene, if the terrorists were on set in the scene, Daniel Pesci would hide back behind the camera and go, yeah, okay, action, God. Oh, God, please don't let anybody get hurt. And they really were, they felt dangerous, but they were sweet guys. They went, yeah, fuck you. And they took me home and it was all good.
Yeah. So before we stop talking about this, one guy we didn't talk about, Louis Gossett Jr. How was it working with him?
Lou,
I mean, just a legend.
spiritual teddy bear, our inspiration that no matter if it's Officer and a Gentleman or Iron Eagle 3,
Mayonnaise.
you work as hard for that paycheck as any other job. So he took the material seriously. By the way, I got to read. I was cast with Lou first, but Lou wasn't available for the auditions for everybody else. So I read Lou as the dean against everyone auditioning for Billy Tepper and every other part. I was the only one in casting, already cast, and here we are looking at headshots and reading the scenes with everybody coming in. I never want to be on a casting process again. It was the most humiliating, dehumanizing process. They literally pick up pictures, throw them in the trash, and I'm like, you know what? Thanks for inviting me, but this is awful process. And so then I got more nervous after Toy Soldiers, and I don't think I ever worked again. No, I'm kidding. So when we and by the way, Sean can bring it every time. The reason I auditioned for Samwise Gamgee, and it's the audition where you're over Frodo with the ring and crying and don't die on me and stuff. They're like, speak Old Earth English. I'm like, what the fuck is Old Earth English? I get this thing. We're shooting 3 movies at the same time in New Zealand. It's not SAG. I go, what the fuck? They go, it is not a SAG picture. So the first thing you're like, well, what? Movie of the week trash. Obviously Ralph Bakshi is the best Lord of the Rings. So there's no way somebody's going to film 3 feature-length versions of this with effects and dwarfs and giants. And I go, you're out of your mind. So I did. I auditioned. I have a screen test for Samwise Gamgee. So Sean, though, has the emotionality. He has the craft that Haim, DiCaprio, Phoenix, Renfro, a lot of actors we've lost. They have a raw, open, maybe because they don't have the absolute dull, worn armor that I have built up from being in the industry for 46 years. That it was harder for them to suffer the slings and arrows. Yeah, sorry, I always get a little emotional on those that aren't with us.
Right.
It still gave us so many great pieces that we can watch and enjoy, and that's even sadder. It's like a James Dean situation with like 4 or 5 people I knew.
Wow.
We're friends that I tried.
Yeah, that had to be tough.
Yeah. I had one successful pull out of the nosedive. One successful person I thought was ruining their life, and I think I made an impact and helped them pull out of nosedive. True rumor. So other than that,
Wow.
Yeah, Toy Soldiers was the movie everyone wanted to be on. I got to be on. I was so stoked. We did a press tour. We did Joan Rivers, and went to 9 cities in 11 days, and we had a lot of fun shooting that. Yeah, and still to this day, friends with Andy Diaz. We love Andrew. Oh my God, me and my wife adore him. He has a brewery up in Arrow Bear near Big Bear and Lake Arrowhead here in LA, and go to Andrew Devoff's brewery.
All right, I'm gonna have to check that out. So then you move on to you go go to the other side of the spectrum. Don't tell mom the babysitter's dead.
In my
And
experience, it was the other way around. I shot Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead first, and then went right to Charlottesville to shoot
oh,
Toy
really?
Soldiers. They released them in opposite order. They held Don't Tell Mom a little longer. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because you played.
By the way, I took my stand-in on Don't Tell Mom. He is from North Carolina, Asheville. So we're in Virginia. That's like less than driving across Los Angeles distance. In LA, you can drive for hours and get a few miles. Back east, that's three states.
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
he came out and they had no stand-ins. They had nobody to train the extras, the background, all the kids we hired to play the hostages. A lot of those were actual students of the boys' school. And so he came out and was Sean Astin's stand-in on Toy Soldiers. So if you look at the credits of Don't Tell Mom and Toy Soldiers closely, you will see a shared name as standing for Keith Coogan and standing for Sean Astin.
Okay. I had to check that out too.
But shot in the other order. But yes, Don't Tell Mom. Oh my God. What a fun. Stephen Herrick was our cheerleader. We got the subversiveness of the script. We're like, we're allowed to make this, and it was Outlaw Productions, Brian Riley, Bobby Newmeyer, that they had made Sex, Lies, and Videotape. So I already knew with barely any money, they could make something that absolutely was scandalous and people talked about and people watched or rented, or a Sundance darling, if you will. And they go, wait, they're producing a studio Warner Brothers picture that's Home Alone times 5. That's every other movie was the parents leave town and the kids, everything falls to shit. And they said, we're writing a movie where the parents leave town and the kids pull everything together. And I went, that's a movie. Oh my God. And it's one of those, when you get a part, when you read a script or audition or the sides, sometimes you get both the sides and the whole script. Sometimes you only get the sides. When you read it, you go, I see myself on set. I literally, like, it's so easy. Like, how do I not get in the way of this? So Don't Tell Mom. I was originally auditioned for Brian the Clown Dog Boy. Was rejected when I said I should go up for Kenny because I loved Kenny. I thought Kenny was the greatest part. And I said I could play him. I could play him. I know him. I knew a Kenny. And they said, no, you're too old. My agent said that.
Wow.
But Marcy Liroff in casting hadn't said that. So I prepared for Brian the Clown Dog Boy. And I also prepared, Chris Young helped me prepare a bag. I called it my drag bag. It had a $15 wig we bought at Burbank Hair and Makeup. It had a skull vest that Chris loaned me and a pair of torn jeans that I had. And I kept that in the car. And it was right outside of Warner Brothers across the street. There's this row of kind of like, looks like corporate housing or like British row houses. And that's where like separate production offices are off lot. And so I auditioned for Brian the Clown Dog Boy, and it's a producers and director session. So the two producers, the director, the casting director, their casting associates, so at least 5 people in the room kind of judging you as you do your part, and they're filming you, videotape. So I read, it's great, thanks Keith. And I go to leave, and at the door I turn to Marcy Liroff and I said, hey, can I come back in a few minutes and show you something? She goes, sure, Keith. I'd already known her from other auditions. And absolutely. So I go to the car, and I was the last. I think my family said you're either first or last at auditions. So when they make the schedule, when do you want to schedule? When's your audition? You go, when do they start? What's the first audition? if you're first, you set the bar that every other actor has to get to pass you. Or you come in last and you close the deal. They've seen everybody else and they're not sure, and you come in and they go, oh, thank God. So I was last in the round of the Brian Clown Dog boys. And as I'm leaving, I see 6, 8 guys in the lobby, all with the long hair and the thing, and they smell like patchouli. 2 of them are friends of mine. One's in a band with a friend of mine. I'm like, hey guys, what's up? I go to the car and I change and turn into Kenny. I don't know how to explain it. Oftentimes, I remember going up for a Mike Farrell movie. The second time I'd worked with Mike Farrell. First was Battered with Karen Grassel, Chip Fields, and it was about battered wives. And then I did Memorial Day, and on Memorial Day audition, I blacked out in the audition. I cried, but I blacked out, and I just remember coming to in a bathroom. So I thought it was the exit to get out of the thing, and I walked into a bathroom, and I walked out. I'm like, and they cast me. So Don't Tell Mom, I don't remember, so I blacked out. And actually, I kicked the door open. Who's in charge here? Just was in character when I came in the room. And I did that for a lot of auditions. I'd warn people and warn the agent knew to warn Cashner he's going to come in character. It just helps. It's sometimes harder to switch. So the further it is from you, the harder it is to switch. So Kenny was very far from a computer nerd, geek, music, theater student.
Yeah.
Kenny was as far as you could be. So did it, and Marcy Lira said, okay, Keith, go ahead and take off the wig. I had a baseball cap over it because it's a cheap wig, and so I Sebastian Bached it by putting the baseball cap over the wig. It kind of sold the wig better. So I took off the wig and the hat, and they saw it was me, the same kid that was just in 15 minutes ago for Brian. They go, oh. 2-3 days later, I got the call. I booked it.
Cool.
And they invested $6,000 in the wigs, 2 $3,000 a piece hand-laced wigs. And while I was getting the wigs done, I saw a picture of my grandfather on the wall. I go, why do you have a picture of Jackie Coogan on the wall? And they said his PR people said he needed a toupee for his personal appearances in the 60s. So Wigs by Ziggy had made wigs for my grandfather and Kenny's wig for Don't Tell Mom, which they kept and archived. And when I went on to AMLA with Steve Edwards, I came out in character with a waffles recipe on the day of release, and I wouldn't break character. And Steve Edwards goes, come on, Keith, movie's coming out. Okay, you could drop the bit. And I wouldn't break character. And he pulled the wig off my head, and Steve Edwards put the Kenny wig on his head. And he played a stoner real quick. And I think I finally broke character. Maybe not.
Yeah.
I'm not Crispin Glover crazy, but I'm artist crazy, which is good enough crazy.
Crispin Glover, good Lord, dude. Yeah. I actually did go to the theater to see this movie, so you'll be proud of me for that.
Awesome. Thank you.
But yeah, great movie. What was it like working with Christina Applegate?
Like, so she was a friend prior to filming, and I'd known her and been over to her house. And I had so much respect for her. Had already been on, when you're on like movie lots auditioning, just wander around. You're like, I know they shoot Married with Children over here. So you walk in and say hi. I know they shoot, who's the boss over here, or your friends guesting on something. You go visit them. The security is pretty lax. Once you're inside of a movie studio, walk around like you know where you're going, and people leave you alone. Yeah, working with Christina was such a pleasure. There was zero argument over what the bit or the gag or the comment is so clear on the page. Every 2 lines is quotable. There's 5 punchlines on every page of that script. There's so much great dialogue. And you go say it as quick, as fast as you can. Be real, be in character. Just to grind it out. We had so much to shoot. So probably 2.5 months. Hot during the summer. A lot of locations in LA, and then finally settling on this house in Canyon Country, near Valencia, near Magic Mountain in LA. It's near where they shoot Wipeout, near where they shoot kind of a lot of like ranchy, hilly kind of stuff outside of LA, and hot, stinky house. They really let that house go. They took a nice house, destroyed it to look like the Crandall house, and then remove the destroyed parts to make it look like the kids cleaned it up again.
Yeah, it was like you said, it was different. It was like the kids got it together at the end and made it look good. But yeah, just that's pretty cool movie there. So what are you up to now? What have you got going on now with Keith Coogan?
Got a bunch of autograph conventions coming up.
I've seen you've been on that convention tour.
Yeah. Such a great chance to be. It's the after Napster killed CD sales for musicians, they had to do tours, right? And so
Yeah.
here I get to kind of do the tour and support Book of Love or Cousins or
Cousins
Adventures
with
of
Ted
Babysitting.
Danson. Yeah.
I have a backdrop Alamo Drafthouse gave us after we finished an Alamo Drafthouse tour of Adventures of Babysitting, and it's the building turn on its side, so you can do a Batman TV series walking up the building gag with me and pretending like you're hanging off the building, and I'm like, you're Elizabeth Shue. And they gave us the backdrop, so we have that at autograph convention. I signed dishes. Dishes are done.
You're done, dude.
They have Alamo Drafthouse in California.
They do downtown LA.
Yeah, it started here in Austin, so it's like, yeah, that's like my favorite movie theater to go to. I love the kind of the stuff before the movie, like kind of the
Austin was a
shorts. Those
trip.
are great.
They let us
They're great.
set up a merch table in that tiny little lobby. I think it's a threeplex there on
wow.
What is it, 6th Street?
Yeah.
And it was drunk, absolutely belligerent, fun. It was a riotous crowd, and like everybody felt like they were watching at home. So
there's a saying in Austin. It says "Keep Austin weird."
Keep
So
Austin
it's
weird.
definitely,
That's right.
Yep.
Austin Film Festival.
Yep.
Linkletter.
ACL.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We got trapped in the elevator at the hotel on our way to the theater, and we're going to do a Q&A and introduce the movie and sell merch. And who doesn't want a "Don't Fuck with the Babysitter Dead" t-shirt? And we're trapped in the elevator with a Marine, and the Marine, she is losing her mind. She's like, I will call her out of the roof. I'll free us. I'm like, just calm down. We're like, we're probably going to miss. We only missed we're really trapped in an elevator, and we were free maybe 20 minutes. We made it in time, but Austin, very good. We've been there a couple times. Great host city for the arts. Thank you for being weird, Austin.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
So where can people find you online? I know we found you on I found you on Facebook, but is there a website or is it easier to find you on Facebook to see where you're going to be next?
There is a website which will lead. It is the fountainhead for the socials and YouTube clips, merchandise, contact info. It is KeithCooganOnline.com. KeithCooganOnline.com. And Timothy Busfield, who ran Sacramento's B Street Theater with his brother Buck Busfield, told me you got to repeat the phone number or the website 3 times. So that's KeithCooganOnline.com.
Look, I'm looking up here right now.
Stevie, we need to do that. Stevie, we need to start doing that.
Yeah, we definitely need to do repeating it.
When I learned people need 3 different channels of input. They need to see it or read it. They need to hear it, and they need to so a billboard, a video spot, and then a radio ad. Print. They need to read it in print. They need to see it on a billboard. They need to hear it on the radio or see it on TV. If you have any 3 of those, they'll come, they'll show up, they'll know about it. But you need to get in orally, visually. There's a few ways you get people learn tactilely, visually, audibly, or demonstrations. So yeah, advertising is throwing $100 bills into a fireplace, and every once in a while someone comes by and goes, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking at the merchandise up here now, and the autographed Kenny quote dish. Yeah, Yeah, that's got to go to. It's got to go, and then the mini dish tree ornament. That's
Yes, holidays are
yeah,
coming up. Get
yeah.
your
You just talk a
dishes
little bit.
man
Talk a bit a
ornament.
little bit though, and I meant to ask you about this, the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, because I'm a big Jay and Silent Bob fan. I mean,
As
Jay and
am
Silent
I.
Bob Strike Back
Yes,
is one of my favorite movies. How
I.
did you get involved with that?
My wife said I should ask Kevin Smith to be in reboot. That's it.
So that
We
was
saw it
it.
was being made. And she goes, "You should go ask him." And I go, "Honey, that's not how it works. There's an agent, submissions, and casting directors and producers." And she goes, "Just ask him." So she'd already met him and talked to him. I'd seen him across the room at Smod Castle in LA. He had a Smod Castle, Santa Monica Boulevard, little at the Complex Theater, little white snake basement theaters. That sorry, no offense to victims of the tragedy. It was a screening of The Shark Is Still Working, 3.5 hour Jaws documentary by Michael J. Roddy at Smod Castle. And after the screening, I see Kevin across the way. He's got crowd 3 deep. He's behind a counter. He's talking to everybody and taking pictures and being great. And with my buddy who brought me. And I look at Kevin across the way and like 20 feet away or whatever. Kevin looks at me and he goes, "Hey, I got a head nod. I'm so excited. I got a head nod." So I come home. I tell my wife, "I got a head nod from Kevin Smith." He like, "Hey, what's up?" Oh my God. So she's getting his picture at George Segal's Walk of Fame, his star dedication ceremony. And Kevin Smith is presenting George Segal and speaking. And she's getting him. She goes, "Oh, my husband really loves you. He's a big fan." Keith Coogan. And Kevin goes, "Uh-huh." And she goes, "He was Kenny." And Kevin goes, "I know who Keith Coogan is." He goes, "Dishes are done, man."
Dishes are done.
He said, "Before I made movies, I watched a lot of movies. And
Yeah.
anyone who was in, that I saw up on screen before I started making movies it's a different thing to him." So we tracked him down. They were doing Fat Man and Beyond. Oh no, they were doing his other podcast with Rolf Garman, Hollywood Babylon, at Hollywood Improv on Melrose. And there's a back way to get in, an alley. Well, it was the week that Harvey Weinstein had been exposed. And it was a rough week. Let's just put it that way. So
Right.
security was up, chasing me and my wife out of the back alley. We were like hiding behind a dumpster, pretending to be teenagers making out just to blend in. And we're like, yeah, we're so cliche. We've seen too many movies. Oh my God. Kevin's circling 3 times. He probably spots us in the alley. And he's like, "I don't know who these weird people are." Finally, security goes, "What do you want?" And we had a gift for him. I had a dish. Dishes are done, man. I was
Dishes
giving
are
it to
done.
Kevin. And I had a 3-page scene of Keith Coogan buying weed from Jay and Silent Bob outside the Chinese Theater in LA. They're trying to raise money for what do they need money? They're going to sell weed. We wind up in front of Kevin. He goes, "Who are you?" I go, "Keith Coogan." He goes back to Kevin. He comes back. He goes, "Kevin, we'll see you now." So we run up, and I give him the dish and the thing and the screen. I go, "Hey, here you're doing reboot. And I don't know. I'd really love to be in." I don't even finish the sentence. And Kevin Smith goes, "You're in, you're in, you're in." You don't have the job till the second paycheck clears. So you're standing on a mark in front of camera. There's so many hoops and union and contracts and agents and crap to go through. But that night on the show on the Hollywood Babylon, he announces, he goes, "Hey, Ralph Garman's going to be in it." Keith Coogan, ran into him outside the theater. And I'm like, okay.
Okay.
How does that happen? I don't have his number. I don't know what agent, I don't know he's such an independent filmmaker. It's like, so I asked my agent, "Well, how do I get on?" He said, "I'm in." She goes, "Well, just find out who production is and then give them my number and then I'll work out with them and, we'll get you on." Great. I really to no avail. So I work as a tour guide at Sony Studio Tours across the street from the old Lot 2. They've torn down and built homes there, but they have a Coogan Circle across the street from Sony. named after my grandfather. He was under contract to the MGM when it was MGM. So I get to tell people after, here's the Esther Williams stage, here's where they shot Air Force One, and here's my grandfather turned that into the schoolhouse because of the labor law. And anyway, I'm on the lot at lunch and I look up and I see Jorts and hairy calves step back into the stage. Now, keep in mind, his heart attack has happened. Me and my wife went to the 9 o'clock show of his heart attack show.
Right.
And the 7 o'clock show was letting out. And we go in and we sit, we wait, and they say, and they make an announcement, ladies and gentlemen, Kevin's gone to the hospital, please. And go home. It's over. There's no second show. And we were like, can we go to the hospital? Do we drive by? We're like, don't be those people. And he died at that Widowmaker. So I see him. It's a bit after, and how are you? Glad you're alive. Yada yada. And I have the pain in the ass actor thing to go. Hey, listen. I talked to my agent. We don't know production company how to get in touch with thing. You said I could be in the movie. I'd love to, And he goes, give me your phone. He just grabs my phone out of me and puts his number in there. It's like, we'll talk and we'll hook it up. And I got on Reboot. Very pleased with that. And you don't get the script. You get your dialogue the day that you're shooting. Very nerve-wracking.
Wow. Yeah. That sounds. Anything else you want to ask him?
Oh, go to YouTube, watch the Quarantine Bunch. Former child stars have their support group meeting on Zoom, which gets crashed by a deranged fan. Go watch the Rookie episode, Poetic Justice. I play a guy looking for a treasure buried in L.A. Gold, baby. Online, there's clues, and I get blown up with dynamite. Very great guest role.
Good ending.
Yeah, my character's name was JJ, and I got blown up with dynamite. I didn't even notice it. I shot the whole thing. It's airing, and my wife goes, "Your name was JJ?" I go, "Yeah." And she goes, "Like dynamite."
Yeah,
JJ Jimmy Walker. And I go,
you.
"Oh,
yeah, that was funny.
I'm
just about that.
not a smart man." We've got On Our Own, which is on Amazon Prime. Ernie O'Donnell, who is art director for Kevin Smith, he helped co-produce a series, Jersey Boys, whose parents are done with New York and retired to Florida, leaving them on their own. So 30 and 40-year-old men who have to live on their own for the first time in their lives. I play a divorce attorney. Great stuff with Brian O'Halloran from Clerks in episode 6.
Oh, wow.
On Our Own. We've got what else to do? Oh, Team of Two, a buddy cop movie, but he can't keep a partner, so he goes through 19 partners. I'm one of the partners, a Swiss detective named Detective Ooft. And then Wrong Reasons, directed by Josh Roush. Josh Roush directed Magnum Opus, the making of Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. And we were watching the making on Amazon Prime. And we go, that camera he's shooting the behind the scenes of is so, you could shoot a feature with that. A couple of months after shooting Reboot, he calls me up and he goes, would you be in Wrong Reasons? Co-starring Ralph Garman, Kevin Smith, Harley Quinn Smith. It is a deranged fan kidnaps a Britney Spears pop star to get her off of all of the smack she's doing and clean her up. He knows it's going to end by suicide by cop. He knows it's not going to end well. And it is done. It looks great. He says the sound's not mixed. It's only one of my lines that you can't hear. I don't care. Release it.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Quarantine Bunch now up here. It looks like I recognize, let's see, Danny Pintoro is up there. Jeremy Miller, you, who is Ricky? And I know
That is Dean, Tori Spelling's ex.
Okay. And then there's a Judy.
Yep, from Judy Norton from the Waltons.
Okay, yes, I see it now. And then Scotty
Schwartz from The Toy and Kids Inc. and Christmas Story.
So I'm gonna have to check that out. I definitely got to check that out. Anyway, anything you want to ask him, Worden?
No, I just thank you for joining us. You sound like you're very busy, and I thank you for taking the time with us.
Yes, definitely.
And you got a lot of stuff out there I need to catch up on and start watching.
Oh, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. I know some of the movies I've done, I could give you $20 and you couldn't find them online, but they're fun doing, and you make those connections and work with fun people, and sometimes you work on stuff people see, and it doesn't really matter. I mean, I love the doing of it kind of even more than the end product or what happens after a movie comes out. Making a movie is really collaborative and fun, challenging, and then at the end you have this kind of piece that everyone else can enjoy, and you hope that what happened on set transfers to the screen. And sometimes you're on movies that are so fun to make but they're crap, and sometimes
Right.
you're on movies that are really really difficult but they wind up um entertaining audiences. So that it's different every day. You work with really fun, interesting, fascinating people, and hear their stories as well. I'm show folk. Movies is the last carnival. Is the last career you can work. Find yourself working at 3 o'clock in the morning in the middle of the desert under a fake name, and it's all legal. And there's a W-2, and taxes are involved. Um, it's a sandbox, and it's uh, very influential, but it's also necessary. People need, in the caveman days, the small village days, it'd be the day and the hunt and the gathering, and at night you'd cook the boar or the pig or whatever, and then after the sun went down by the fire, the storyteller or the sage or the magi or the whatever, we still do that. We still have dinner and then watch primetime TV from 8 to 11. We still listen to each other's stories at the end of the day's hunt. And so it's necessary. And the storyteller gets a little bit of the pig or the boar because they serve the village in a different way. They don't thatch the roof or take care of the kids or hunt, but they help us understand what we're doing. I know I take it all very, very seriously. And I had done movies of the week on McCarthyism and drunk driving and serious subjects and battered women, and Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead has changed more people's lives personally. I've been approached by fans at autograph conventions, fan mail, online, that they were a layabout, stoner, do good nothing, sitting on the couch, and they saw Don't Tell Mom, and they signed up for cooking classes and culinary academy, and they're now a gourmet chef at a 5-star resort in Miami.
Wow.
Um,
You go, Kenny.
and this isn't anecdotal. This is over and over, and that is remarkable. That of all the things, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead
Of all the
affected
movies
people's
you did,
lives, right?
the stoner guy was the one that influenced everybody. So yeah. But
Well, I was
anyway,
attracted to the arc that, yeah, he's a stoner guy, but he cleans up at the end, and all the kids do. But yeah, that's I still consider it subversive along the lines of Harold and Maude or Silent Running or The Sting or films that subvert expectations, subvert society just a little way. And I think Don't Tell Mom, it doesn't look down on the kids. The kids
right.
have
Oh yeah, you're right.
fun adult journey. They grow up a little bit in front of your eyes. And the dialogue, and Joanna Cassidy, one of the best performances. It's camp, but it's believable. It's relatable. It's fun. It's funny. She's hysterical and very quotable.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're not going to take up any more of your time, but like I said before, thank you so much, Mr. Coogan, for taking time out of your busy schedule to do this. We've talked for about 2 hours now. I know it's I could talk to you for a while, for longer, but I'm sure you got other things to do. But anyway, thank you again, Mr. Coogan.
Pleasure to meet you.
You being on. Nice to meet you, and maybe we'll have you on again. We'll talk. Maybe we'll do just a Toy Soldiers episode. What do you think about that? Maybe we can get Will Wheaton and Sean Astin up here.
We'll do a commentary episode. We'll watch it, and
Worden, you need to, we can pull that out. Yeah,
I'm there.
Let's monetize that on like Twitch or Rumble or whatever those things are called. I don't know.
Exactly.
Got to figure that out. What's the one? Is it Twitch? No.
I don't think it's Twitch. What is it, Ward? You know what it is that you?
Go on to my
I don't know what you're talking about. What are you
P
talking
or an R. No, there's a thing where it's kind of private enough that you get away with the copyright issues on
Snapchat?
streaming it. No. Oh God, I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, we'll see you on the dark web.
That's an assignment for next show.
Anyway,
Thanks,
like I
guys.
said,
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coogan. You have a great night, guys. That is Keith Coogan on the fly.
See ya.